So, over to Muhammadu, Honorary Consul for Niger. You know, we've heard words of optimism alongside words of pessimism here. I wonder for you in a country like Niger, how your experiences has been. You know, this report seems to suggest there's been very little expenditure on disaster risk reduction. There's been a little bit more on disaster response, but overall suggesting that there's probably a significant mismatch there. Yet, how are you seeing these trends? Is there any cause for optimism for Niger?
Well, yes, thank you very much. I'd like to congratulate the ODI and Jan and his team, and also the World Bank for sponsoring this study. It couldn't have come at a better time because since 2010 and coming up to today as we speak, so much has happened. And Niger definitely has come across in the wider community, international community, as one of those countries that need urgent aid for so many reasons. One is the continuous cycle of drought and famine, but more so we believe the issue of the definition of disaster should include man-made disaster like impact of war and conflicts, because when you, for example, you expect a government to spend on budget, there is very little there. I'll give you an example. Last year, Niger held a big conference and raised a funding gap for development. But what happened after that was the war in Mali. As an example, when the Malian troops retreated, they retreated into Niger, not back into their headquarters. And then there is the humanitarian problem. There is also the impact of the collapse of the fall of Gaddafi and the problems in Libya. 170,000 Nigerians who are always sending money back home returned home. Then there is the problem of the Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria. At one time, Nigeria, which opens its borders and it provides like a comfort zone for Nigerians when at the end of the farming season they go into Nigeria, for example, and some of the coastal countries trying to seek work to send money back home, the border had to be closed. It's now open. So for example, after raising money, you now have to wipe off any budget you had for DRR to address both the famine, the drought, and the humanitarian problems, and also to deploy all the resources in funding the troops to secure the borders, and also for intelligence, you know, to support the neighboring countries and to reduce all these the rising problems in the region, which we all know. The capacity of the government for us is one key element is the issue of, first, the willingness of the government. What will the government do? If you say the aid is coming, the government always has to be willing to receive it. And the only way it can be received is being upfront, open, and proactive, and work with the international aid agencies, international communities to help bring in aid into the most needed areas. And the government has been praised for that. An example, so many recent reports from especially from UK institutions, have highlighted the growing effort by Niger to open up and receive aid. There was a situation in the past where there was a stage of denial, but this government is quite open, and it has ended in receiving a lot of aid and support going into Niger. For example, the UK government last year hosted the government of Niger after a 43-year gap. And it has led to the wide opening of support, and a lot of it has created awareness, and it has given me the opportunity also to meet so many agencies in the UK and institutions to highlight what Niger needs and also to create opportunities for people from Niger. One thing that happened was in June last year, shortly after the president's visit, the DEC helped coordinate a big meeting with all the international agencies, and a very fruitful discussion came about with many measures coming through. The UK government subsequently sent the Minister for International Development. He spent 5 days in Niger, which is huge by international standards. He went around, he saw everything. The UK government gave a direct injection of £5 million, and thereafter in November created a Sahel task force, and also created an envoy for Sahel, looking at Mali, Burkina, and Niger, of course, and it has helped with the response, especially in supporting France and other international communities in responding to the crisis that came about after the war in Mali. So in Niger also, the institutions are developed. There is an institution called SAP, and it provides a mechanism where the civil servants can work effectively in reaching the communities. But more so, this government has brought about what is called the 3N initiative. It's Nigerians feeding Nigerians, but it builds on resilience and also capacity building, and to some extent even it has to give out cash handouts to the local farmers to support their income, giving grains, because at the end of the day, if you have whoever the leader of the household is loses income, what ends up happening is a lot of problems and leading to many communal problems. So the capacity is there, but there isn't money to do the DRR element. And we've touched on the budget. I believe we need action before 2015 because Niger needs more money, and this result has highlighted, in fact, if you look at the green zones, Mali, Burkina, Niger are all there. So my proposal, or the immediate solutions I can think of, is the funding, yes, more money, but it should be managed and supported by both the government of Niger and the international community. It should be split into two. For example, first, internally strengthen the institutions and help the government to train people, and also help the government to deploy people, and then assist with the climate, the encroachment of the climate, and how to assist people with the flooding. The key issue is, if people are in the floodplains, first, you can't move people because the Sahara is encroaching. That's one. You have farmers who, if you tell them move from this area, they will tell you this is the land of our ancestors. At the end of the day, you cannot move everybody away from the disaster-prone areas. So what do? You come up with effective and the right planning and the right strategies to support people, for example. So that's where I feel the internal institutions can be strengthened. Internationally, Niger is very grateful and has received a lot of support. More so for me, I can only speak more specifically on people like the Sahel group, or the humanitarian group. I believe more funding should go there, where some kind of small institutions and exchange programs and training programs can come with a combination of the experience of the aid agencies, the academics, and institutions like the ODI, because there is so much data. If you talk to any of the aid agencies, Oxfam, Islamic Relief, Christian Aid, World Vision, any one of them, they have their solutions for Niger. So let's bring it together and see how this this wider international group can work with other international institutions from other countries with the support of the government of Niger and reach out to the local population, because this is the only way, in my mind, the DRM and also the DRR financing can both be deployed and be made effective. But most importantly, thank you very much for this report.
Thank you very much, Muhammadu. Some really, I think, enlightening thoughts how to work with Niger. What we'll do now is turn to the audience and to our online audience and invite questions for the panelists. If you could just be clear in stating your name, your affiliation, and raise the question as clearly and as shortly as possible. Also inviting short, pithy comments if that, but please do keep it as short as possible because I can already see an awful lot of hands in the room. Let me start on the right-hand side. We'll take blocks of 3 questions and then invite responses from the panel.